Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining episode number 2 of the Yash Digital Trailblazer virtual webinar series. As we've set up these different webinars in the 5 parts that we're going to be bringing to you every Tuesday at this same time, ending on Tuesday, June 23rd, there are certain topics that obviously get different people's attention for different reasons. But the topic we have today is just, from my vantage point, fantastic for where we all are in the business world. And it's specific to governance around Microsoft Teams. And that whole notion of Microsoft Teams, for anybody that's been doing as many virtual meetings as Praveen and I have been, and all of our panelists have been, you really get the importance of the virtual landscape, the virtual meeting landscape. And at Yash Technologies, we rely heavily on Microsoft Teams for all of our internal meetings. And when I was prepping for this and working with Praveen and the panelists, I kept finding myself getting caught up in the content and being a bit of an audience member more than the moderator. So I'll apologize in advance if you see me getting caught up in the content and maybe not being quite as sharp on the moderation as normal. I'll try to watch that for all of you. But like I said, today's topic is very in line with what we all find ourselves dealing with, and that's that governance of Microsoft Teams. I'll be turning it over to introduce the panelists that we have to cover off on this topic in just a few moments. But before we get to the panelists themselves, wanted to take an opportunity to talk a little bit about my colleague, Praveen Kumar, and talk a little bit about Yash Technologies. Praveen, for those of you that don't know him, is just fantastic when it comes to all things Microsoft, and he's responsible for the Microsoft service line within Yash Technologies. But as passionate as he is about all things Microsoft, sometimes Praveen gets really wound up in talking about the topics and doesn't do as good a job giving himself credit as he should. And when I look back at last week's episode, I kicked myself for not shining a little bit of a brighter light on Praveen and all of his team members that make up our Microsoft practice within Yash Technologies. And the reason that is, I couldn't be more impressed and proud to partner with them, as they've led over 300 projects with our over 700 consultants globally. And at Yash Technologies, one of the things that we really hang our hat on is that we're large enough to serve all of our clients' needs, and that's where those 700 different consultants all over the globe come into play. We really have that global reach and that global impact that our partners are looking for, but we're small enough to still care on an individual basis. And what I mean by that is, if somebody calls, a customer calls Praveen Kumar, he answers the phone. If you want to talk to the service line lead in Praveen, you have access to him. So we're large enough to fit the needs that you have, but we're small enough to still care and still give you that one-on-one personal attention that we know everybody looks for and really appreciates in today's business climate. So with Praveen being the leader of that, I know he wants to get into the governance of Microsoft Teams and talk about what he can offer for thought leadership, and our panelists are looking for that too. And I'll allow Praveen to jump in and introduce himself in just a few more moments. But first, I want to open it up and allow our panelists to give an introduction of themselves. And joining us first will be Doug Campbell. And Doug, if you could just give a brief introduction of who you are and who you're affiliated with and what you're going to bring to the thought leadership aspect today.
Hi, my name is Doug Campbell. I'm with Stryker and been in roles there leading PMO type activities. So really, when I think about Teams and Teams as a tool, looking forward to share with the organization, with those that are participating, about how a tool like this can be used to really increase collaboration in your organization, increase the collaboration, and how we get teams to be more effective and efficient, and how they deliver value in an organization.
Doug, thank you so much. And moving on, Alan, if you could give an introduction of yourself, we'd appreciate it. Oh, Alan, not getting your audio.
We good there?
There we go.
All right, sorry about that.
No worries.
Working from home, right? Alan
the joys.
Alan Millage with Ken Corporation. Been with the company for just a little over five years. Currently manage the application administration team, so any development and administration of applications, if you will. And part of that stack would be also in the Microsoft world. And I bring my interest here is really just the overall with governance and stuff, but the rollout of teams, we're kind of fresh to the market there, and certainly have some insights on some practices that we've implemented.
Thank you, Alan. Look forward to your interaction today over the next hour. Raina, welcome Raina back. For those of you that made it to episode 1, Raina did a fantastic job of interacting with our other panelists and Praveen, and we're excited to welcome her back for episode number 2. Raina, reintroduce yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me back on as a panelist. I'm Raina Nola. I work for Stryker, which is a medical device company, for those of you who don't know. So I work closely with Doug in the PMO space as well, supporting the PMO for 2 of our franchises. And Stryker moved to Teams a little while back, and I would say I was a bit of a late adopter in that process. So now that I am leveraging it, I'd like to really get the maximum functionality out of it. So looking to learn and collaborate with the rest of my panelists and with Praveen and John on this webinar.
Raina, thank you so much. And again, welcome back to episode number 2. Next is another newcomer to the Digital Trailblazer webinar series. We got Mike Brannon. Mike, introduce yourself, please, sir.
Hi, I'm Mike Brannon. I work for National Gypsum, headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina, making building products all around North America. I lead our infrastructure and security teams, and we've been on a bit of a journey towards all sorts of SaaS applications and moves toward the cloud. And we're well into a journey into the Microsoft cloud environment, but our team's journey is still relatively new. So I'm hoping to learn how others are managing the journey that maybe are farther down the path than me.
That's great, Mike, and no better way to get those insights than being a panelist. You got front row seat to steal great knowledge and take it back to National Gypsum and say, hey, this was my great idea. You can take credit for everything that you're going to learn here today and be a savior. I see your strategy. Go. Well done.
I'm counting on you. Counting on you.
We do what we can, Mike. We do what we can. Well, the next 2 panelists are also returnees from episode number 1. We'll start off with Ashish. Please reintroduce yourself. There you go.
Yep.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Now we've got you, Ashish.
All right.
Alan, he was just doing that to make you feel like you weren't out on an island by yourself there.
Hi, guys. This is Ashish Patel. I oversee IT for a medical device company based in Japan. It's called Nihon Kohden. And I have been in the IT industry for a good 20 plus years. Super excited for this particular session. I even invited my team to join the session. We launched Sharepoint and Microsoft Teams, and Microsoft Teams is integral to the project management for Nihon Kohden. And in this session, I will be throwing some tough nuggets at Praveen because these are real life challenges I will be, I'm facing, and I want Praveen to help us answer some of these challenges. So looking forward.
Us as well, Ashish. Thanks for joining again. And final panelist, but certainly not least panelist, Rachel Young. Please, Rachel, reintroduce yourself to the group.
All right, hello. Yes, Rachel Young, so from Brewer Science, I'm the PMO director there. Brewer Science is a global company that develops materials for the semiconductor industry, so we're headquartered in Rolla, Missouri. I facilitate projects as they pertain to the corporate resources portfolio. Previously, I led the enterprise apps team, which included ERP and custom development. We also implemented Teams in 2019. So I'm looking forward to sharing my experience with the implementation and then also gaining additional knowledge. So thank you for having me.
Thanks for returning, Rachel. Appreciate it. And as I said at the kickoff, my colleague Praveen Kumar I'm sure he wants to get right into the meat of the episode and start talking all things Microsoft Teams. But first, before we get into that, Praveen, please introduce yourself. Give everybody that's from on the panel and our attendees that have tuned in, give them a background on you and what really differentiates the Yash Microsoft team.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for everybody for tuning and dialing into this webinar. So first of all, I would like to thank to my team who have done a tremendous job in pulling together the demos which I'm going to be showcasing in this webinar, plus also all the marketing team who have worked relentlessly to create all the content and collateral. And again, special thanks to them. So myself, Praveen Kumar, I'm an associate vice president and practice head for Microsoft Technologies. So I have over 20 plus years of experience just specifically on the Microsoft. I only know Microsoft. People say that, I eat, sleep, and breathe Microsoft. So, I spent all my life in Microsoft, from developer to project manager and an architect, and finally, I've reached to a stage where I can actually lead the entire Microsoft platform. So to me, what is important and what I wanted to convey the message in this today's webinar is, there are so many, webinar platforms or webinar themes that are going on currently. So we call it as a webinar fatigue, right? So what I really wanted to do is we are talking to a real digital leaders here, okay? We are actually taking a real problems and real scenarios coming in from all of these people. And then we are also trying to provide solutions to those pain point areas. And on top of it, so we have also built, a cool demo to solve a lot of the industry problems. And to me, what is important is, helping the customer spontaneously and solve those problems in a longer term and maintain that longer term relationship with many of our customers. And then I can talk to anybody in this panel. Rachel, we have been working with Rachel for almost 3-4 years now, and likewise Stryker a couple of years, and NGC 3-4 years, and if the list goes on and on, John Deere 20 plus years, Caterpillar. So likewise, so we are working with many big organizations. So our goal really is to help solving the problems that delivers the value to the customers.
Praveen, that's fantastic, and I appreciate you giving that background. And like you said, the number one goal, not only of the service line, but of this webinar series, is to help the customers, help the end users. So without further ado, let's get into doing that. And for you that are tuned in today, what you can expect is we'll have a series of questions by our panelists. And those questions will start here momentarily. We'll go through a round of questions, and then we're going to change things up a little bit as compared to episode number 1. And we're going to open it up to a bit of a roundtable discussion on a specific topic and allow all of the different panelists that have a different point of view or different insights to bring to that topic to interject and have an open dialogue with Praveen. And then we'll move into, as Praveen said, he's got a great demo queued up and ready to go. And then we'll move into some open questions from the audience. And then specifically, make sure you stay to the end, because that's where you'll get to sign up for the giveaways. And Praveen will share the specific URL that you'll need to spin to win today. And there's some great prizes. I've seen what's available for any of you that have checked it out on social media, on LinkedIn and our Twitter feed. You'll know what the prizes are. You've seen them already. So make sure you stay to the end so you have access to win those prizes that are out there. And Praveen's smiling and nodding his head. He knows the good stuff that's out there. So without any more being said, you've heard enough from me. Doug, I know you've got the first question for today. Please go ahead and fire away.
So how does permissions work for guest access in Teams, and how do you provide channel exclusivity?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of the fundamental question that is coming in from many organizations. So this is what I would like to call it, right? So Teams is a glorified version of a SharePoint. I mean, everybody is familiar using the SharePoint, and we have been using it SharePoint for almost 15, 16 years. We use that for collaboration, but just not collaboration tool. So you can also do all the audio, video, chatting, and things like that. But specifically, when so many people across the organization talk about a 50,000 organization that you are managing or that you are in, and you have a big team to manage. So in that specific scenario, so you can create a channel, or you can create a team, and you can create a channel that are specific to your team's collaboration. Now, you wanted to make or you wanted to create a some specific channel that you wanted to kind of give a private access or maybe secure that information, right? So lucky for us that Microsoft has implemented a private channel capability within the Teams. So let's say you have a Teams created already, so you have a bunch of channels created already, but then there is some pricing information or some secure data that you wanted to keep. So that information you can actually create as a private channel, and then kind of give an access to only to specific users and specific audience to within your organization.
Praveen, thank you very much. Raina, moving over to you with question number 2 in episode number 2.
Great. Yes, my question is around SharePoint sites that I currently use for collaboration and document sharing. And as we migrate to Microsoft Teams, would like to minimize creating new folders and uploading each of those files that were previously on the SharePoint site back into Teams. So is there a way to minimize the work involved in that?
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually a lot of the organizations are facing this this situation. So as I was saying, right, so everybody is familiar using Teams, sorry, not Teams, SharePoint. They have created a lot of collaboration data, content data. So basically within Teams, Microsoft is allowing multiple ways to achieve this. So number one, once your team has been set up, so you can actually go within a team and then create a new tab. So when you create a new tab, so you're being greeted with multiple options. So one thing that you can do immediately right off the bat is you can create a SharePoint document library, and then this SharePoint document library, link it to the one that is already existing, as a SharePoint collaboration library that is there. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is, again, so create a new tab, and within that new tab, so open a SharePoint link. So Microsoft also allows you to have a tab which is similar to SharePoint experience. So you can bring that. So that's the second way of doing it. And the third way of doing it is like you can create a new tab, and within that new tab, so you can say that this is a web page type of a interaction. So in that scenario, so it'll bring the complete SharePoint experience within the team. So there are basically 3 ways that you could achieve this functionality.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And like I was saying in the kickoff to this, I find myself getting caught up in this as a viewer, because that's one of the biggest things that we deal with and train to within Yash Technologies is how to manage all of the different folders and the different interactions within Teams. So I was jotting down notes at the same time, Praveen, when you were giving those answers.
So, but let's go back to Raina and then see, all of the things that I'm explaining, does it resonate well, or you think those are all the ways that you can explore?
Yeah, whenever you use the terminology tabs, I had to think through what that meant, because I'm familiar with channels, and I've only seen tabs be used for links like a wiki library and for Power BI reports. I haven't seen a tab be used as a SharePoint site, so that's some functionality I'll have to explore more. But I know there are tabs within a channel where you can have various other Microsoft functionalities. So
absolutely. So so again, we'll get that into details when I actually give a demo on the Teams. So, but there are a lot of options that we could explore. Yeah, great.
Praveen building some suspense for his demo. Well done, Praveen. Alan, what question do you have, sir?
Sure. So I'm going to take kind of more of a strategy concept or what have you, but in rolling out Teams, how do you go about planning and designing a true Teams rollout plan? And along with such, as you know, there's numerous different features that certainly can be enabled. So, is there recommendations on the different features to enable them while doing the planning of Teams?
Yeah, absolutely. So Microsoft has actually done great job in putting some, rollout plans. But I think one size does not fit for everybody, right? So, it is your organization. You have specific goals. You have specific things that you would want to achieve. And again, your users are totally different, and your business is totally different. So you got to think differently to achieve that goal. So what I would recommend is, so first of all, whenever we are doing something new in the organization, according to me, so what we should do is we should make everybody involved. Not everybody in the organization, but at least the main stakeholders, stakeholder from the user community, stakeholder from the, the business community, and the stakeholders from the IT community. So we have to have those stakeholders involved into it, number one. And number two, what is most important feature for you? So do you want to have a audio video feature as part of your Teams rollout, or do you want to have a collaboration as a important thing, or do you want to have some chatting capability or instant capability within your organization, or do you want to have some apps or some parts that are most important to you, or do you want to have some native apps experience within Teams? So, those are the various things that we need to plan, and then accordingly, and also we need to look back and then see, let's say, you're already using some instant messaging within the organization. So probably, you are using Slack, or you're using Skype for Business, or maybe you're using other tools. And when it comes to audio video conferencing, so probably you're using Zoom or Cisco, or, Cisco WebEx, or maybe some other tool. So like, what's my goal? Am I trying to consolidate all of this or replace all of these? Or Teams is going to be another platform or another tool. So those goals and those ideas or those things need to be determined first, and then we need to bring the concept of coming all the thought process and sharing from all of these users. So once you identify, so the way I would want to go about rolling out is, so there is a 3-step process. The step number 1 is to basically identifying what it is, and then step number 2 is to experiment. So experiment what I wanted to do. So roll out probably to a small set of groups. So identify who that group is. So I wanted to go into milestones or iteration. So iteration 1, with small set of features. And then once you, experiment, take the feedback. So what are the things that work for these users? What are the things that didn't work for the users? Is there an opportunity for me to improve and then enhance certain things? So once you experiment, take the feedback, then scale. So scale it to the larger audience, scale it to the larger organization, and start rolling these things out. So that's what is things that I would typically recommend to my customers.
Hey, Praveen, this is Chris, the Tech Data System Engineer. Something else that could obviously help, obviously, like I said, there's no one size fits all type of thing, but there's also the Teams templates that, at least you can set like a very basic ground like floor, so to speak, and then build upon that for maybe education or like basically, different verticals that could help out.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point, Chris. Thank you. Thank you for adding that there.
All right, Chris, Alan, thank you very much. Mike, you're up next, sir.
Yeah, so my question, which might tie right into the template point of view, is as you're beginning to roll out Teams and you're trying to deliver a lot of Teams capability to different project groups or to different working groups, what can we do to automate that? What can we kind of build that would allow us to get to scale without clicking through the little plus button to add a tab or that sort of thing manually?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is very, very important thing when you wanted to go at the scale, right? So obviously, you don't want to, as you rightly said, you don't want to click and then click on tab and click on these things. So what we have done is there are 2 ways that we could do. One is the templatization process. So within the templatization process, so whatever the team that it was already created, let's say it's a HR onboarding process. So typically within the HR onboarding process, we know how many steps that are there. We know what are the documents that are required. So probably I would think this is one of the, the templatization. Or if it is some event planning, something that I want to do, or some of these things could be invoice processing, or some of these are service operation measurements, or some of these are, safety manuals that I'm using in one of my plants. So again, we can think of multiple scenarios. So whichever has some reusable component within it. So what we can do is we can actually think of making this as a templatization process and then kind of create this and then give this option to the user. So there are two things that we could do again. So one, when a user goes into Teams, so they'll get two options currently. Okay, so Microsoft is yet to release this feature. We are hoping that it'll come to us, before fall. That's what I'm hoping. But when you get in there, so currently you have two options. One, either you can create a team or join a team. So with the third option, so with the template option, you will be given a list of templates that you want to select it from. And from the get-go, you have everything there. So that's one way of doing it. When the Teams template is rolled out, you can do something like that. But we have already thought through this. So what we have done is, so with the power of Microsoft Graph and some PowerShells, so what we have done is, so we have created our own backend process. With that backend process, so you can put whatever that you want. You can put a team name, you can put a channel name, you can put how many tabs you want, and you can put what sort of a channels or a channel exclusivity that you want to create. All of those details you can put it in a tool that we have built, and then click a button. And magically, behind the scene, everything happens with the power of a Graph API and a PowerShell script. This goes and talks to your Azure Office 360, not Azure, Office 365 tenant, and all of these things gets reflected behind the scene. And when you come back and when you ask the users to get in there, so those teams are actually created it for you.
Nice.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Praveen. Ashish, you've been waiting patiently. Now you're up. Please.
Yeah, thank you. So we have several folks using Microsoft Teams. Some are small teams and some are large departments, right? So what we are struggling is when it's a meeting agenda and someone releases it, everybody gets to see it. But there are some secure documents, right, that we only want to target certain people. So how can I make sure that only certain people can see certain documents, especially when they're secure documents?
Absolutely. Again, for every problem, there are multiple solutions, right? So in this situation, we have two options again, okay? One is, Microsoft has got this new feature. I think most of the tenants within US should be able to have this this feature. It's called private teams. So private channel. So within a team, you already created a team. So then you have actually created one channel. And then whatever those secure documents that you wanted to do or that you want to not available or not want to keep available for the rest of the team, you can take those things and then put them into a different channel and then make that as a channel, a private channel, and then give access to only those specific people, and then those people will be able to see only those documents. This is one way of doing it. Since I come from an old school, SharePoint school, so what I can actually do is, I have a SharePoint, I have a Teams. Within that Teams, I have already created a Teams and I have already created a channel. So now I can go into a new tab within the Teams, and then I can create a SharePoint document library. And all the securities and everything that I can control on the SharePoint side. Let's say there are only specific, I wanted a VP of IT, or I wanted a VP of operations, or maybe CIO. So only those people should be able to see all the financial document. So those security, I will control at the SharePoint level. Since I'm bringing the SharePoint into Teams, so whatever the security that I have applied at SharePoint can go into Teams. So there are two ways, which is possible.
Thank you. I think I like the second option because that gives us some consistency. Great input on that. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, Praveen, we'll have to go with that second option as the old school option. You were dating yourself there, saying that you're from the old times of SharePoint.
Yeah, so I've been using version 1, back in the days, 2001. Yeah.
Go back
Rachel,
to the Tahoe
close
days.
out round number 1 of the questions, please. What question do you have for Praveen?
Sure. So Praveen and to the group, we implemented Teams in 2019. So our users have the ability to create their own teams. But there are some teams that are not being used, or that needs to be audited. What kind of archival process or disposal strategy can be planned to reduce a large number of teams?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great question, Rachel. I'll tell you why, this a lot of the organizations are facing this challenge. So sometimes teams can be overwhelming. Okay, so it's a self-servicing tool. Everybody who's got access to Teams, pretty much they can go and create a new team and a new channel, start using it. But think about this, over a period of time, you will be bombarded with hundreds and thousands of teams and hundreds and thousands of channels. So what are you going to do with that, right? So again, in my case, I've been using Teams for a very long time, since the day when it has been released. So I've been using it so in my case, I have got thousands and thousands of teams and channels. When somebody is asking me, hey, Praveen, where is this document? Or hey, Praveen, where is this Teams? And I don't know where it is, right? So that's why, we are facing through this struggle. So what, again, where I wanted to come to with this is, so we can, as part of the Teams rollout and the user adoption plan that is going into your organization, as a IT leaders, business community leaders, right? So we have to make one goal here, right? So do we want to make, or do we want to allow our users to create the teams, or do we want to put some sort of a compliance in the Teams creation, or only the people who can be allowed to create a Teams, and rest all others can be allowed to join? So that sort of a compliance and that sort of a governance, we need to put it into Teams, and that will, eliminate a lot of unnecessary teams to be created. That's point number one. And point number two is, let's say you've already created a Teams and channels. So by default rule, I believe it is set on Teams is 90-day policy, or maybe some 6 months policy, right? So over the 6 months or a 90-day policy, so if nobody is using this team, it automatically gets kind of hidden in your channels or in your teams. And I think over 6 months or maybe in 1 year time, so this gets archived. But on top of it, so the tool that we have created, so it looks at the usage pattern, and if nobody is using that tool, it gives you some simple report that tells you that, hey, here are the 10 or 20 teams that are created by you are no longer in usage, and here are the 20, 50 sites or teams that are created by your group or your organization that are not in use. So what do you want to do? So do you want to archive, or do you want to do? So that sort of a details our tool that we have built will give you that information.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for, is to put in something like that into place. So thank you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Praveen and the panelists, thank you for the great conversation around all of the questions in round number one that we had. In the setup of this episode, we discussed about transitioning into a bit of a roundtable discussion between Praveen and all of our panelists that have joined us today. To kickstart that and get the ball rolling, get the momentum going, Doug, I'd like you to dive in with your question, and then everybody else on the panel, after Praveen has had the opportunity to answer, feel free to jump in and interject with any thoughts or thought leadership that you may have from your perspective as well. So Doug, please go ahead and kick us off.
Sure thing. So, the question here is, and I'm going to preemptively answer what my thoughts are on this even before Praveen, if that's okay. But what strategy can I implement in my organization to increase end user adoption? And I'll say one strategy that I've certainly seen in my organization, I'm sure many of us have seen this recently, is have everybody work from home.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden I had all kinds of people using Teams that had never used it before. It's kind of interesting to see chat, for example, in Teams where, I'd send people chats before they didn't even know Teams existed, or that I was trying to chat with them. And then all of a sudden I'm getting the answers to chats from people I didn't expect to, because they're sitting there using Teams all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Praveen, certainly, I'm sure you've got some great advice on this as well.
Yeah. So absolutely. So I think this question is more related to user adoption, like, how do we draw more user adoption into Teams and things like that, right? So I think fundamentally, again, what we would like to do in this topic is, so as I was saying earlier too, so, you need to identify what is most important to you, like, is the chatting, the collaboration and things like that you identify. And once you have that goal identified, then obviously you would go into who are the stakeholders and who are the, the IT users, or who are the main users, end users that are going to be using the Teams and things like that. So once you also identify that, another important thing that we need to look at. So let's say there is one SharePoint application, or let's say there is one SharePoint document library or some other custom application that is going and that's doing something else. So, but the best example is probably onboarding application, HR onboarding application. So in this HR onboarding application, so I think to me, it makes more sense to keep that HR onboarding application inside the teams. So that is because if it is in teams, everybody would come and then start accessing the application within the teams, rather than I'm asking them to go into SharePoint or open a custom applications and things like that, right? So you can bring the traffic into teams, so that way more people start liking it and more people start start using it. So that's one of the thought process. So again, so three-step process. I need to identify what is important to my organization. I need to identify who are the people that are going to be using effectively all day long. Okay, and then the third thing is there any opportunity for me within the organization? Those applications shouldn't be existing as a free standalone applications. Can I bring all of those applications and then be part of teams? So again, there are multiple ways that you can do. So Power Apps is one of the things. So you can actually have a Power App template running within Teams, and then you can also have a SharePoint application running within SharePoint, and then you can also build a native Teams-based application. So Teams has got its own platform, using the App Studio, we can actually build an app that is just built for the team. So there are some of the medical companies and hospital industries that we are working, where the complete doctor schedule and the patient check-in, check-out, and also the X-ray scanning. So these involves large number of data. So one of our customer in Australia, they reached out to us and asked like, hey, can you build a native app that runs inside the Teams? So again, these are all some great examples on how we actually draw the traffic and make sure that we are meeting the organizational goals. So this is my point of view, but maybe Rachel, you wanted to share also.
I do have something to say. Yeah, we took more of a marketing approach. So I liked the idea of, yes, have everyone work from home. That's perfect. But what we found is we conducted info sessions early on to educate our users about what Teams was and some of the terminology, because as that's coming out from Microsoft, people were confused. What's OneDrive? What's Teams? What's the difference? So we wanted to educate the users. And then just after we started actually working from home in 2020, we had these virtual coffee breaks in which people were able to join and talk. And actually throughout those meetings, we would educate people on Teams. So it was actually a good opportunity for us to bring people together. But and we also did other things like creating a wiki with terminology to make sure that people could translate from the brewer science terminology to the vendor terminology. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sounds like you almost put together a dictionary, Rachel, for everybody to be able to translate what the team verbiage was.
Right. Well, there's a lot there. So
there always seems to be when we're dealing with technology. Anybody else on the panel have any other insights to share?
So something that we've done that worked pretty well was trying to find some linchpin kind of power user people within a different project team or within a different work group, and then ally ourselves with them and kind of let them lift up their own work group. People are sometimes a little reluctant to call IT for help, maybe until it's a dire circumstance, but they might have someone they regard as their wingman in their group. And if you can find, people like that within each group to lift up and sort of promote, that's been a real benefit for us. And then one other thing we did, Microsoft has got a lot of great material out there, but we also found a third-party partner from Microsoft that provided a lot of short videos and some other kinds of helpers. And we made sure in our marketing material, we kind of hit that up. So having that trusted ally who's already a member of your team ready to help you, that helped a lot. And then having resources available just for everybody to dig into when they wanted was useful as well.
Mike, thank you very much. And Alan, I saw your virtual hand going up, and I know you're chomping at the bit to add something here. So I appreciate that, and I want you to jump in now and share your perspective as well.
Yeah, I think, for us, we took a more of a phased approach, or we're still kind of in that phased approach, to be honest with you. And kind of to your point, Mike, it's, finding that champion or whatever that, we took a group, and the group was IT, and kind of let IT at it. And it really, what it's done is you start spreading the word too. It's kind of a verbal spread, and you get people really excited about it. And now we have other groups like, wanting it to be rolled out, and we're certainly rolling it out to them, and it's just kind of a snowball effect. It's been pretty cool. The challenge, I guess, if there's a challenge there, with a group like IT, these guys aren't scared to kind of dive in and play around with stuff. So you really have to educate yourself and really understand what's going on, but for us, it's been a great way to do it, to roll that out, this phased approach. And then to your point there, Rachel, you call it a virtual coffee break, but we have lunch and learns. But during these times, we certainly will talk this conversation, and it's just learning and growing from it. So we did a more of a phased approach.
Alan, thanks so much. And for everybody that's jumped in and added your insights and your perspectives on this, it's amazing how one topic can have all these different solutions to get to the same result. And I can see all of them being used in a very effective manner within organizations. So for the listeners out there and the viewers out there, you can see the variety that you can put to use to make teams work for you. And it's really just a plug and play, whatever the right size is for your organization, and whatever the path that's going to lead to adoption in the broadest sense. Please feel free to use any of those things, and obviously reach out to Praveen and his team, and feel free to dive into more options and more information about how you can make those things work. So we've got a gist, we got a feeling of how we can get the groups to adopt teams. But really importantly, once they've adopted it, I know the next thing that's going to be on a lot of our attendees' minds today is, how do I get them to use it right? How do I get them to do it in the best practices format? And Raina, I know a question that you had, it goes right in line with setting up the adoption, but more specifically, getting everybody lined up for success once they have adopted teams. So go ahead with your question, please.
Yeah, thank you. One of the problems that I would say we faced a little bit is, as people start adopting it, you get a lot of teams with the same or a similar name. And then you have 2 teams or 2 Office 365 groups with the same name. I'm probably on 25 groups, all with the title COVID-19 Ramp Up Plan. And so how do we control that behavior of letting people know that maybe there's already something out there that they can leverage?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are currently, what Microsoft is allowing is, when it comes to Teams, so I think it's more of a self-servicing approach in the nature right now. But you can pretty much create whatever that you want. So COVID-19, you can have 10 apps there. So they are not controlling on the Teams level, but where they are controlling is, they are controlling at the channel level. At the channel level, you cannot have a duplicate channel. So that thing has taken care. But I think the tool that we have built is kind of puts the naming conventions in place. So number one, it'll ask you like, hey, if you are coming from this department, or if you are coming from this group or this organization within your team, so the naming convention is really, your department name underscore, your division or your franchises, and then the actual team name. So that's the kind of a naming convention that we are enforcing the users to use it. And there is no way that you could have a duplicate channel. So currently it is not there in the Teams, but we have built a tool. That tool has that naming convention enforcing for the users.
Great, thank you. That helps.
So Praveen, you say the tool was built. Was that a tool that your team specifically built to remedy this problem?
Yeah. So we have built a tool. So what we call it as a center of excellence, or a governance and compliance tool that we have built. So this is all Yash proprietary tool that we have built.
Okay. And then when we get towards the end of the webinar, really appreciate it if you'd share with the viewers and the attendees today just how they can reach out to you and your team and get more information around those tools, because that was something that caught my attention, something that we battle with in our team all the time. and we use your tool, and it's very, very effective in keeping everything sorted out and easily accessible. That way the team uses it a lot more because it's user friendly, and that tool is a big part of that. Alan, let's keep the positive momentum going and turn it over to you, please.
Yeah, so Praveen, earlier I came at you from a little strategy about teams how to plan a team or design a team rollout, but now I'm going to come to you from still a strategy concept for more on the native or team native app side and custom apps and bots. And how do you build this strategy to roll that into teams?
Yeah. So it mostly goes into these things. So some of the people within your organization are more energetic, they want to try out everything, right? They want to explore apps in one side, they want to explore the custom apps, they also want to open the chart parts and things like that. But again, like, we have to see these things, which are the ones we wanted to enable and which are the ones we wanted to restrict. So those determinations or those ideas need to be identified. And then, I think in my mind, I always think, right? So we should experiment first before we open it to the larger audience. So whoever is that set of audience, like let's say, within that set of people that we have identified, 10 people or 20 people or whatever, whoever they are. So let's specifically roll out these features to them. Okay, so one of those could be like, custom app, or other things could be a native app, and other things could be a chart bots. So, let's identify those, let's roll out to those people, and then see how these guys are using the apps, and then collect the feedback. And once the feedback is positive, then, kind of roll it out to everybody. But at the same time too, I don't want to open all the floodgates to everybody and then start using, and then it creates a chaos at the end of the day. And I really don't know what to manage and which data is coming in, and who's exposing externally and who's bringing that data internally. So those things, again, I will keep into the consideration. And again, depending upon my organization goals, I will be cautious and cognizant on which are the ones that I wanted to enable and open. Does that?
Awesome.
Does that?
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate that.
Yeah. Cool.
Hi, Praveen. Alan, thank you very much. Mike, you're up, sir.
So one thing we're kind of struggling with, we've got a little bit of an experiment going, and it ties right into Alan's point in a way. There are these bots that are available inside Teams. We use Ring Central as our phone system, and there's a bot built that we've configured that lets us generate a conference line number for people who want to phone in, and that sort of thing. Comment on what we ought to be doing to deploy and to properly govern some of this bot activity, and kind of share with us some thoughts on how can we get into it and embrace it with our orgs.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, this kind of goes into the previous question, like, some of them are very interested and excited to, use the features within the organization. But according to me, and even Microsoft also can chime in if required, if you wanted to get a full Teams experience, what Microsoft would recommend is, they have some calling options, they have some toll-free number, 1-800 number. So if you wanted to get that full experience, audio, video seamlessly, so there are some great plans that Microsoft offers. So we would want to go with that option to get a complete experience here. That's number one. Number two, like that Ring Central that is there, the bot that is there, just only for the audio conversations, and just for that, the Ring Central comes into picture. So we can test it out with few users, and based on the feedback and based on how successful it is, the audio quality, and the call prioritization, QoS we call it as, so we look at those things, and then if the feedback is really good, and if we are really saving some dollar amounts in terms of what the calling feature that Microsoft offering versus the Ring Central, and it overall connectivity and overall features. So once we have a good understanding of that, we can make a call whether we want to go with the Teams or Ring Central. And again, so there is really straightforward answer to it, because we have to really know the organization goals and organization strategy here. Is it the saving the cost is important, or the getting the experience is important? So those sort of things will come into play.
Gotcha. Yeah, we never want to pay for 5 tools and then find ourselves using one.
Yeah, that's the traditional case in any organization, right? So somebody likes something, yeah, let's bring them in. So once you start bringing in, so who's going to support these things?
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Yep.
you have to think about the support strategy. You have to think about all of those things. For God's sake, if something happens to the Ring Central, if that is going down, how do I bring it back? And again, I need a different consultant and a different, engineer to support it. But if the experience is coming in teams, so I've got everything in one single place.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Look at you, Praveen. You're solving problems all over the place today. Ashish, what question do you have for Praveen?
Yeah, so Teams, I feel like is an awesome product, but there are several steps that are manual. I think what we are struggling with is the entire permissions management, right? How the permissions go from team to channel, especially, you have a new hire, and if you want to make sure that person is in all the teams or all the channels, how do you manage the permission at the team level or the channel level, but not like going one at a time, but more like in a single go, Praveen?
Right. So I think here is where, before I answer that question, right? So here is where we need to be cognizant and careful about what teams really are, right? So when do I use Teams versus SharePoint? When do I use email versus Teams versus SharePoint? So that is something that education has to come within the organization, number one. Number two, once I have a clear understanding on what information do I want to keep it in Teams versus SharePoint, so obviously there is no automation process. So here is where again our tool comes into handy. So imagine a situation, a new hire is going on. And as you rightly said, 5 teams or 20 teams or maybe 50 teams needs an access. So if you were to do manual, so it takes a lot of time. We don't want to do that, right? So imagine a situation, you submitted a ServiceNow ticket or you submitted some ticketing system, you submitted a ticket. So behind the scene, we can automate the whole process. Okay, so the tool that we have created, so it lets you select what teams and it lets you select what channel, and also it lets you select or you can basically put all the usernames within that box that you get by comma separated, and then you can also explicitly select what permissions do I want to give. So do I want to give a member of this or do I want to make an owner of this team? So you can do all that in one single shot. And then once that is all done, so then you can say, hey, generate these things for me. So behind the scene, what we do is we collect all that information, we submit that to Teams tenant at the administration level, and then the scripts gets executed. I think Microsoft has some iteration cycle there. So this does not get created effectively or immediately. So as with the Active Directory account setup, so you set up an Active Directory account when a new user is coming in, it takes that 6-hour cycle or whatever the cycle that you have, right? So the same concept goes here as well. So it updates, and then once the updation is done, you get a notification, and whoever number of users, how many our number of users, or how many our number of teams and channels, all of that can happen in a single go.
I see. So some kind of, Praveen, are you talking some kind of batch automation behind the scenes?
The tool that we have built, yes.
Okay.
Right now, it's not there. I mean, with the teams, it's not possible. Okay. So again, talking to many customers, we learned these problems. And through these problems, we have actually created a tool.
Thank you.
All right. I know we've got a lot of questions. We've got some coming in from the audience as well. But Rachel, you have the last question of the panel for this episode, and it's a great one. So I look forward to you finishing strong with the group.
Yeah, really. So Praveen, how can I actually identify and remove inactive teams? We talked a little bit about the archival strategy, but how do we actually remove the inactive teams?
Yeah, so that's again a challenging thing that everybody faces within the teams within an organization. So one thing though, so if you have a elevated privileges or if you have admin privileges, you can go into teams, and then within the teams Office 365 tenant, you can select teams, and then within that somebody can see. That's at the organization level. That's not at your group, or that's not at department. That's exactly what you need. Not just you, everybody who's tuning into this conversation right now, they're all facing that problem. And the good news is, like I said, we have built a tool, and that tool can be given at the admin level access, or at the power user like yourself, can have access to that tool. And then once you see that, it will give you all the details, how many active users, inactive users, how many active groups and inactive groups, and also channels, private channels, all that information it will give you. And then you can pick and choose what activities that you want to do within your team. And that's in full control of which is in full power of yours.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Rachel, thank you very much, and all of the panelists, thank you very much. The hour literally flew by. I just did a time check, and I cannot believe that we've burned through an hour for episode 2 already. With that being said, Praveen, I know we promised the audience access to the URL to the great prizes. I'm going to take a second now, turn it back over to you, and have you do your wrap up and let the audience know how they can get in touch with you, get in touch with the Yash Technologies Microsoft team, and most importantly, have you share with the audience how they can register for the episode number 2 prizes and what those next steps will be. So without further ado, Praveen, please close the show for us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, John. So, hey, Rahul and team, I cannot share my screen. Okay, so can you confirm, John, if you are
there
able
it
to
is.
see?
We've got it, Praveen.
Okay, wonderful. So now let's bring this down here. Okay, so I'm showing my desktop. So there is this URL called yash.com spin-a-wheel. So the URL is up and running right now. So, I request everybody, those who are attending, including the panelists, can get an opportunity to, spin this wheel, and then all awesome gifts and prizes are waiting for you. So go ahead and please take this advantage. Again, I read that URL for you, www.yash.com/spinwheel. This URL right here.
And to everybody, it was just posted in a message in the chat box to all of the audience. That URL is in there if you want to copy and paste it in the chat box on this webinar as well. You can capture it there.
Yeah, I hope everybody got an opportunity to grab this URL. Again, I repeat that, yash.com/spin-a-wheel. So please take this advantage and don't miss an opportunity to win a gift card for yourself. Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. We'll see. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Praveen.
Sorry, we got 3 more minutes. So let me summarize this. So there is a mega raffle is also going on here. So, I know everybody is working from home. You all want a great experience. You might have tried Amazon. You might have tried Best Buy. But unfortunately, all of these things are ran out or maybe pretty expensive. So here is an opportunity for all of you to get all of these things. It could be it might be yours. So the question is, how can I get this mega raffle? So all you have to do is attend all our webinars, and then you will be qualified to win this awesome prizes. So that's the second thing that I wanted to convey. And the third thing is, if you have any questions from this webinar, so please feel free to shoot out an email to this one, trailblazer@yash.com. So we will be answering all of your questions in less than 24 hours. And finally, so don't miss a chance to attend the next webinar. The next webinar is going to be again on the awesome topic called the modern workplace. Everybody talks about a modern workplace. Everybody talks about a digital workplace. But what is it really, a modern or a digital workplace? So that is something that we are going to be discussing in the next Tuesday. So please feel free to join this webinar again. And from your organizations, if you find this webinar is really useful and helpful, I request all of you to bring your colleagues and your friends to join the future webinar, which is Modern Workplace. So the link to register for additional people from your company is this, www.yash.com/trailblazer. Again, I'm putting this link again back here, spin a wheel. So please take the advantage of this.
Praveen, thank you for a great show in episode number 2. We'll look forward to seeing everybody next week, same time, same place, for episode number 3 on Modern Workplace. Have a great day, everyone.